Hey everybody, it's Mike from Monkey Fab. So today I have some aluminum welding to do, and I know that that's like a big thing with a Vulcan. It's a Vulcan back here. Remember I told you guys about my little cardboard shield I made for the air. So we got the Vulcan. Get the camera right. So we got the Vulcan Pro TIG 200 over here, and we're gonna do some AC welding today because I got an order for a part that I make. It's like a dual breather catch can thing. We basically just put some bungs on some tube and put some tops on it and weld it together, and pretty easy. I mean, it's kind of complicated because it's round and it's kind of difficult, you know, doing that. And like I said 100 times before, I'm not the #1 aluminum welder guy in the world. I know lots of guys that are way better than me, my friends, and they're just artists with it. I do okay. So the idea isn't, you know, the idea is always to try as hard as you can and try to get better, then do it better than you did last time. But I just want to put the machine through its paces on AC. It's a lot of welding. It'll probably be a good solid, you know, hour, 2 hours worth of welding, maybe. I don't know. But everything's cut, ready to go. If you guys want to see videos on how to make a catch can, I have a couple of those. I got one for me making one on the Phoenix. It's just like a quick version, and then I have like a super long, detailed, you know, how-to version under my welding videos. So you can check that out if you're interested in making a catch can. But the point of this video is just to try the machine and see what we're doing. We switched over to #5 gas lens here, and we got our tungsten tucked up in there pretty well. You guys can see that. And the machine, to start off with, we're gonna crank the flow, the argon flow down to like probably 14. We'll start around 14 CFH. Maybe we'll start really low, start around like 10 or 12, and then bump ourselves up until we're getting the coverage we need. The settings is the AC frequency. I have it on 120. Now this machine goes, I think down to like maybe 20. I could be wrong, but somewhere pretty low, and up to 150. I know 150 because I just turned it up all the way and it only went to 150. And then I thought, like, I don't like running any machine like at this extreme point, so frequency really doesn't matter all that much. But I just turned it to 120 because that's good enough. And AC balance, we're starting off at 72, and we might play with that a little bit to get the effect we need. I got a couple practice pieces here, and the amps is at 160, I think, amps. So that's going to be our start point, and we're just going to run some test speeds, which you should always do when you're doing aluminum. Just because it worked last time and you saved it in your machine doesn't mean that it's going to work this time, because sometimes it's just the atmosphere has changed and you got different amounts of moisture in the air or whatever, temperatures, and different masses of metal, different kinds of metal. But so it's good just to take a second and run a few test speeds, which is what I am going to do until I get the machine where I like it. And then we're gonna start hammering away on this thing. There's a lot, so it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There's probably about like 20 different welds I have to make on this guy to get it all together. And it's pretty complex. One thing I will show you guys, I sell these radiator cap necks. I always like to talk about what I sell because you guys can support me by going and buying stuff if you're interested. But these radiator cap necks, I use these for the surge tank. But what happens with this is they make the, this is aluminum and so is this. And similar metals, when you screw them together, have a tendency to gold up. So I tried to, couple things. I left the thing in there. So here's the deal: is I have to put this on. Well, I have to put this in here and weld this. When I do that, it has a tendency to put a lot of heat, and sometimes things distort. And what I noticed was if I left the little nipple in, then it would want to gold up and rip out, and then I'd have to throw both pieces away, the part I welded it to and, you know, the cap. So what I've learned to do, and I like to stick this on to keep this shape, you know, so it doesn't warp at all. Although you're not really in there that long, but for some reason, I think it's a cast machine piece, so who knows. Anyway, what works for me is, because you have to take this guy off to weld the outside, because otherwise it's sticking over where you need to run the bead. What I do is I take some of that silver anti-seize, and I just put a spot on there, and I screw it in there. Now when this gets hot, that shit like burns, and it, you know, turns into some sort of vapor, which is probably bad for you. So don't inhale that. You know, beware a ventilator, or do something to make sure you're not breathing that in. But that little spot of anti-seize makes it so, you know, after I get done welding it and it you know, does whatever, I can still take this guy out of here and put it back in, and it keeps it from golden up. So if whoever gets this part that they ordered in the future and they decide they want to take that in and out, then you know, what happens is it doesn't gold up. So, and that happens with all like metals. So if you take steel, like a steel nut and a steel washer, and you try to bolt them together, put some force, that metal just wants to be one. So it's just something to keep in mind. Like metals do not play well together in that fashion, like as in fasteners. So sorry about that tangent, but yeah, we're gonna just do test beads and see how it works, and we'll play with the machine. And what I learn, I will tell you guys and say, hey, this worked well, that didn't work well, here's the settings, blah, 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 blah. Although you should always check your own settings and see what works well for you, because what works for one person might not work for another person. And we are on, and put our little shield out. One thing I do like to do is just fire up my torch on, I have this copper plate, and the copper can take heat all day, so I fire this up and kind of max it out and just get to see what the tungsten. I have swapped the tungsten. I usually use thoriated when I'm welding stills, so this is 2% lanthanated, and that's really the only difference. But light that guy up and just see what it's going to do, so I can have an idea. We'll turn this. That's real low. That's like 10 CFH, so we'll see what happens. Usually that's not enough. And I'll be using probably 30 seconds, 53, 56. Or maybe 1/6, I don't know. Or 1/16, I'm sorry, not 1/6. That'd be too big. That'd be mass grande. No necesito más grande. So this first guy, you can see the gray area around it. There's hardly like none. And then I bumped it up. So that's like 10, 11, and then I bumped this up to like 13, and then here's 14. So 14, it's got a little gas coverage all the way around the weld, and that's what I want to see. I'm just going to play with the AC balance and see if I can maybe get a little shinier looking bead out of it. But it's not bad. I'd be pretty happy to get around there. So let's change the AC balance to like, it was at 70, so now we're going to try 72. Let's see what, let's just go to 75. That way we'll just kind of swing for the fences. We'll go up what I think is a little bit too much and see what it looks like. And then maybe down a little bit too much, see what that looks like. And hopefully we find a happy medium. Okay, so a couple things real quick. Didn't see much difference messing with the AC balance. I mean, if you're in that kind of 65, 75, so I didn't see much difference messing with the AC balance. I think if you're basically within that like 65 to 75 on clean aluminum, that seems to be fine. I just don't really, I don't see a noticeable difference there. It's not leaving black speckles in at 75, and it's not over etching, I don't think, at 65. So, the flow, I could probably drop the CMH, the flow of the argon down just a little bit, kind of clean up that etching band, but I'm okay with that. That keeps it a nice look, a nice clean kind of shiny bead for sure. It doesn't let that black stuff get in. So I'm gonna start at like 73 AC balance. The frequency I messed with, and it didn't really make any difference either, other than maybe the sound. So, you know, that's where it's at. I can see this thing just post-flows forever, and it's just not needed on aluminum. So that would be a great, they need to have some sort of aluminum mode or something in there. So if you're doing aluminum all day, boy, that would get annoying. But it's one of those things, like when you're welding, you don't really stop. So with aluminum, you kind of want to make nice long runs without stopping a lot. It just makes for better looking weld generally, because the starts are usually pretty profound and easy to see. So you try to make nice long runs. So you're not really stopping as often as you would with like stainless steel, you know, where maybe you want to keep the weldment covered. You don't do that with aluminum. So, I mean, there's a little give and take there, but it is what it is. So we're gonna get this thing fired up. I have it at 75 AC balance now, so I'm gonna crank it down just a little bit and start tacking things up and welding things. Oh my God, here we go. All right, so you might hear a couple times I go to light up and it'll just like go up, 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 and then nothing. And I've addressed that before. That happens a lot when you're welding the AC for some reason. I'm not sure of the exact science behind it, but generally it's pretty known amongst welders when you're welding aluminum. What you do is you take your tungsten and you just kind of scratch the spot where you want to start at, and that helps clear that. Whatever the boundary is between that arc happening, that high frequency popping off your arc, that usually cleans that up. And it happens on my HTP. Not like this one has like it's probably some kind of surge protector, I imagine, to keep it you know, not ruining itself, and where it seems like it tries a little bit and it stops. Like my HTP, I can just mash it down and it'll just like bah, it'll just like, you just hear it kind of like that AC is like popping. It's not like it's much higher frequency than this one, but you'll hear it just and it'll eventually pop off. I don't think that's a good thing for the machine, and when it does do it, even on my HTP, I stop and I go, okay, Mike, clean it up, and I'll just, you know, get a good scratch on something. Some stuff isn't like, it's something that's really light and it's not gonna wanna stay put while you scratch it, or it's gonna knock stuff out of place. What you saw is I just take my copper piece and just scratch the tungsten on that, and whatever it is, it cleans off the tungsten enough where it seems like it wants to start right back up. So I think that's why this machine gets a bad rap on AC, is because of that. But you need to know what you're doing. So before you start criticizing the machine, you know, give that a shot and see if it clears up your little AC issue, and you're back, you know, to the races. So let's keep going. Shaking all over the damn place. That's not going to make a good looking weld. really hot. It's hot. This torch is, bam, 197 degrees at this guy right here. The head is 340 degrees, and the hose, people don't think about this, but the hose gets hot as fuck too. Not that bad, though. It's about 99 degrees, the hose. So, and that's always my biggest gripe with any kind of air-cooled machine is it's just hot. You can't weld without getting it hot. But yeah, it is hot, and I will be making a water core. Some kind people have answered when I posted my last video about the upgrades I've done in my 1 month review kind of thing. Here's the finished product. Like I said, I'm not an expert aluminum welder. But you know, it always looks shitty on camera. The only people that makes this shit look good on camera is Jody, of course, and 6061 guy, which I think his name is Aaron, but he is a genius. That guy can weld his titties off. But yeah, I'm not really good with aluminum. It's something I really need a lot more work with. But yeah, so my autofocus says it's on, and yeah, the machine's running. You see the hose is still hooked up. It's not. There's no secrets. I'm not hooking it up to my HTP. HTP doesn't even have argon behind it. So machine worked fine. I'm not really sure how long I welded for. The duty cycle was 30% at 165 amps is what the machine says. I didn't have any trouble. When I fired it up, it fired up. You guys will hear the little pop 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 and doesn't start. Again, that's just, you know, scratch your tungsten on your workpiece where you want to start at, or just scratch your tungsten on, like I have a piece of copper here, and that just like takes whatever's off there and makes for a nice clean ground. Works every time. The welds are, you know, pretty much on par, maybe a little off par today, I don't know, but it welds fine. I haven't welded aluminum in probably a month or so, so if it's not terribly beautiful, that's on me, but it's terribly functional, I can guarantee you that. Well, like a mechanic. No real complaints about the machine. I think this is still an exceptional value, especially without warranty there. So it's something to think about when you're buying a machine is, you know, what happens if something goes bad, especially if you're the guy that takes, you know, a credit card and puts it, you know, $1,000, $2,000 machine on it. You might be struggling, you know, you're not, when you're first learning, you're not making money necessarily off of welding because you're just learning. So, you know, now I can buy a machine and probably have it paid off, you know, have it self-pay itself off within, you know, a few months. But if it breaks and I was already on a budget to begin with, and now I need to take it to the shop and pay somebody to replace the board or whatever, that's just, you know, that's something you might want to think about. I think the selling point of this machine is the fact that the warranty is there, and it's been, you know, demonstrated that it's a good warranty. Like, people just take it in, give them the machine, get a new one, and go about their business. So as far as how do they weld, they all kind of weld a lot alike. So there's some nuance there, but you know, if you're trying to just put together car stuff in your garage, then you're fine. Is there anything else? Nope, I think that's it. So I hope you enjoyed it. My first aluminum part since I've got the machine, and it worked well. The torch makes me appreciate my water-cooled torch. So, you know, the Phoenix, we're waiting on a transmission. My buddy has got it all put back together. Basically, the line pressure is a bit low, so he's gonna tweak that a little bit. So I should have it back after Christmas. It's like the day before Christmas Eve now, and so I'll be excited to get on the Phoenix again and get that thing moving along. But yeah, until next time, this is Mike from Monkey Fab signing out.